This is probably the most unique thing that I have ever put on a rankings list, let alone in the number one spot. I was kind of fighting for a compromise here because I knew that there would be a great to-do if I put either James Cameron or A Night to Remember in the number one spot. Because while both of those movies are amazing in terms of special effects and capturing the story, atmosphere and humanity of the Titanic, there's only so much time you can spend with the ship. Every time you watch either movie, don't you just wish that you could be on that ship and somehow explore it before it all goes down? Well, hang on a sec, I need a pair of sunglasses. Actually, I've got a better pair of sunglasses down here. What if I told you that there was a way you could explore the Titanic? I know full well that I'm reviewing something that hasn't actually come out yet. Titanic Honor and Glory has been in development since 2012, with the objective of digitally recreating the RMS Titanic as accurately as possible. Not only that, but the player would be able to explore the entire ship and be able to experience the voyage in real time. In many, many ways, this is actually better than rebuilding the Titanic IRL. For one thing, something like that you can imagine would be very expensive to experience and way outside the price range of the average person. Not to mention the cost needed to maintain it. It would quickly turn into this morbid image of the rich using a symbol of human tragedy as a gimmick, where many tasteless selfies and souvenirs would flood our Instagram feeds. In a video game, everyone can access it, and exploring it from the comfort of your own computer at home is definitely better than contributing to the air miles needed to travel to a replica of the Titanic and back again. I didn't know anything about Honor and Glory until we were all in lockdown and I spent more time than usual on YouTube looking at history videos because it was fun. This was how I came across one of the channel's first thinking videos in real time. Since 2016 they have made a series of live stream real-time thinking videos. Honestly, I could have put any of their syncing videos onto this long list and it would still have earned number one. While the full game is still not ready, you can download a demo to explore their progress so far. I couldn't get my download to work, so I'm using footage from their YouTube demos. It blows me away how beautiful this is. The realism and detail shows just how much love, dedication and time has gone into this project. It's also amazing to see how much the graphics have changed since the original real-time syncing video from 2016. When you're going through the ship interiors, it's almost as if you could reach out and touch the silverware in the second-class dining room, or lean on the rail of the deck and look out to sea. And yes, as you look around and see all this detail and beauty, you have it in the back of your mind that all of this will be destroyed. The water for the flooding scenes especially has come a long way. Any animator will tell you that water is one of the hardest things to capture realistically. If you have seen any computer animated film not made by Pixar or DreamWorks in the early 2000s, you'll understand. But water in video games is a whole other story. Typically, the surface of water was shown as a transparent texture with some white streaks on it to show that it is water, and water with a current used to look like this. The water textures in Honor and Glory, mixed with showing the slowly dimming lights of the Titanic during her sinking, really helps show this horror movie style feeling of impending darkness. Consider that during the sinking, real people were in this situation. The water was slowly creeping through the ship. The lights were getting dimmer and dimmer because the power was failing, despite the best efforts of the engineering staff. And hundreds of people are desperately trying to find their way out. The more real the graphics get, the greater the gravity of the situation feels. Like with Adventure Out of Time, the experience is from a first-person perspective, so it's something you could experience on a VR headset and make you feel as though you're walking through the ship. You don't create an avatar that you follow through the ship like if you were in The Sims or something, and there isn't a storyline for Honor and Glory, unlike everything else that I've covered on this list. In some ways, other pieces like SOS Titanic, A Night to Remember and In Night and Ice was presented as an experience of the Titanic with no grand story. But the big difference is you can control your own actions here. Like with the Cameron film, every time I watch the real-time sinking videos, I'm like, please don't hit the iceberg this time. But every time, the ship hits. And while the ship does come to a stop in the middle of the dark sea, you are stuck having to watch this colossal, beautiful ship slowly slip away beneath the waves. The graphics help show the sheer size of the Titanic, where the camera has to zoom out really far in order to capture the full length of the vessel, and later iterations have small models of people for scale. The sound can be so eerie. The noise surrounding the ship is an unsettling void of silence that will eventually be filled with the sound of people screaming. Watching or even experiencing the real-time sinking is one of the most unsettling things you will ever witness. The water slowly creeping upwards, starting with gentle dripping before burbling, for lack of a better term. The hissing steam going for so long that you eventually get used to it suddenly stopping. The sudden start, from every distress rocket exploding, makes it all feel so real and makes the player realise the utter powerlessness these people must have been experiencing. When it comes to horror, the things that are most real to us are more terrifying than anything we can create from our imaginations. Honour and Glory's depiction shows just how slow the evacuation at the start of the disaster was. It's almost frustrating to see how long it took for just one boat to be swung out and ready to receive passengers, let alone the 18 that managed to leave the ship. So if the real-time live streams and the 401 demos are just a work in progress, imagine how amazing the final result will look. It's morbid as hell, but so beautiful and so human, even if the actual humans are just indistinctive silhouettes. So, that was the list. Did I think it was going to take 2 years? No. I suppose I should make a quick conclusion of the entire list in order to round it off. Of all the Titanics I've looked at, I've attempted to discern what makes Titanic media good. Not everyone has the budget or audacity of James Cameron, nor the time and dedication of Honour and Glory. Some make do with what they have and focus on the more human elements of the ship. In the times before CGI could create anything we wanted, practical effects could only go so far. And even with CGI, there's only so much CGI can do. A really bad CGI Titanic will completely take you out of the authenticity. So is the moral that as long as you have a good story to put with your Titanic, it doesn't matter if the ship is accurate? Well, no, not really, because I just gave Honour and Glory the #1 spot and they didn't even have a story. What really needs to be understood is the heart of the Titanic. Not this heart, the actual Titanic. In order to understand a successful drama, you need to understand the human and worldly impact that let the ship set sail and caused those on board to make the decisions they did, which motivated the survivors from then on. Honour and Glory captures the atmosphere perfectly, even if you don't actually meet a real person. And as promised, I'm going to go through my preferences for the 10 most featured real-life people who are on the ship. You may agree with me, you may not, but that's up to you. I can finally stop wearing that necklace, because it was already starting to itch. Next time I do a bunch of Titanic videos, I'm getting an actual replica of the Heart of the Ocean, not a cheap thing off Shein for £1.50. I knew what I was getting into when I bought it. So for Captain Smith, because he features in practically every single one of these, I'm going to say Bernard Hill. When I said that he's good at playing the old veteran with the last hurrah, I was thinking Lord of the Rings, but also if you are a Shakespeare nerd, go see the BBC Shakespeare plays of the Henriade, because he plays the father of Richard III who goes down in a big battle and goes, it's either a crown or a glorious tomb. And what more glorious tomb can you have than the Titanic? Murdoch. Ewan Stewart. Despite the thing. Up until then he was pretty damn good. Lightoller. I'd say Kenneth More, because Kenneth More's the only one that gives Lightoller human element. He's human, he's flawed. I mean, sometimes his work is sanitised, but he is definitely better than the others, because sometimes he's either completely villainised or ignored, or he's just a background character. Less said about ITV the better. Let's just ignore ITV. I do. Bruce Ismay. Ian Holm. I could watch his character arc through SOS Titanic a billion times, because he handled it really, really great. Thomas Andrews, Michael Goodcliffe from A Night to Remember, with Victor Garber coming in a close second. Molly Brown, Kathy Bates. Molly Brown was a tricky decision, because I wanted to go for The Night to Remember, but I think Kathy Bates had such a distinctive air about her as Molly Brown. I mean, Debbie Reynolds is pretty good as well. JJ and Madeline Astor. David Jansen and Beverly Ross from SOS Titanic, mostly because that's the only one where they they are more than background characters. Mr. Guggenheim, Michael Ensign from the Cameron movie. Because I love that scene when he says, "But we would like a brandy." He's like, he sees going out in a blaze of glory. He's like, I'm going to go down like a gentleman. I'm going to have a brandy before I go down. I'm a very, very sophisticated man. And then he's sitting there as the water comes onto the grand staircase and he's watching it and he's actually terrified. He's like, oh wow, death is scary. Phillips and Bride, Kenneth Griffith and David McCallum. They were featured more in A Night to Remember than in any other drama, and they had a good rapport with each other, as though these two had been in close confinement for several days, and it was just a shame that both of them didn't make it out. And for the Strausses, oh god, I'm going to butcher this, Maya Seltzinger and Helen Meisner from A Night to Remember. And with that, I suppose that's the end of the Titanic rankings list. Unless we get a new drama, which is probably inevitable. But we're not finished with Titanic just yet. There's one more thing I want to do. Are you ready for the Titanic Hunger Games? No, I haven't lost the plot. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm taking a list of fictional characters who are in all these Titanic dramas and I'm going to put them through the Hunger Games simulator. We are going full second quarter quell and having double tributes for each district. That's 48 tributes in total. Again, it's strictly for the fictional characters. I would not do this with the actual people on the Titanic. I'm not going to put the Strausses in the Hunger Games simulator and watch them kill each other. That's just wrong. We don't do that. Otherwise I'll have to go all the way to New York to say sorry. And I don't have a passport.